Man,
Can you hear me?
rugged again.
Bro, I'm so sorry
Uh,
about this with Twitter. I mean, it is what it is. We'll just, you know what I mean? We'll do our best to get through it.
That's fine. That's fine. I just wasn't sure to what part you heard. And I'm like, no.
I basically heard the whole story all the way through about, you finding out and being very upset and, it being this big secret and then you kind of trying to move past that.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And no, and then did you not hear like oh crap the part about me going to meeting with the family like my sibling.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. Yeah. And then you said you went to Colombia
Okay,
and you
good.
met, like, there was like a sister or a half sister,
Yes.
I guess, that reached out to you.
Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I became good friends with her like over we talked and all this, and then I ended up going to Colombia, met a lot of the family there, and received like a very like warm, welcoming, loving welcome. And despite me thinking that they weren't going to be accepting of me because of the circumstances, they were, and it was a beautiful thing. And and then after that, I got to learn a little bit more about my dad, his family, and also be able to then have like actual relationships with some of these siblings that I had from my dad's side, and who've now have gone on to have had kids and everything. So it's been really cool, and something that not something so tragic like losing my dad. At least later, something beautiful, came out of it, which was now being able to at least have some of these, these new family members, these new relationships, these bonds with these other people. And I think one of the things I was just trying to say, like to kind of tie it back together, is that I do have a very strong passion for wanting to just help other people. And I think a big part of that stems a lot from the fact that like and I mentioned some of like the traumatic experiences I had and the challenges. I didn't even go through all of it, but it was a little bit more of an abridged version. But I there was just so much stuff that I didn't get in terms of like support and guidance growing up, that I feel like if there's any way that I can help provide other people with what I didn't have, um, it could help somebody, right, to just have it a bit easier, a bit better than I did, right. And doing that just brings me such a great amount of joy, right, whether it's helping mentor, support somebody, educate somebody, even just spreading and giving kindness and compassion and caring, and a lot of the stuff that I felt like I didn't get enough of, or I lacked, and is just something that is just very deeply instilled in me, and drives me a lot in the things that I like to do.
Yeah, man. I strongly believe in, being the change you want to see in the world.
Hmm.
People say that shit is corny. Bro, fuck that. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I get it because it's like something you hear all the time and blah, blah, blah. But, bro, you hear it all the time because it's true. It's
Yeah.
something that's like withstood the test of time. So, again, like, thank you for being that type of person. I'm similar to you, man. Like, without getting into my shit, like, I've been through pain, and that's what inspires me to want to be better and do better, and
Hmm.
be the hero that wasn't there for me when I was a kid, and maybe some other kid out there I actually can be that hero for, or
Hmm.
something, maybe hero whatever. That's ego whatever, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you
I
want to
get
be
you, man.
that
Yeah.
positive example in the world. So, bro, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing, and I didn't really even hit on this as well, and this is kind of another area I'm a bit passionate about too, is that, so there's definitely that, right. I think that there's that aspect, just like what you're talking about, be that hero, be that role model, be that support, that guidance for people, because of the fact that I didn't get that, and I want other people to have it. There was another part of my life too, that which was that I also had like a lot of, it's like almost like the, or like negative role models, right, or a lot of like shit that was like ingrained in me, or that I grew up thinking was like the norm, right, or whatever. And I mean, this is actually probably true with a lot of stuff as well. But like, there was just so many things that like I grew up thinking was what how things were supposed to be. That then I realized later on, I'm like, why do I believe this shit? And then had to go through like a lot of like unlearning, and then trying to like almost come to terms with figuring out like, well, what is it that I actually believe, right, and not what I've been told by other family members or society, and whatever it is, right? And a big part of this also is just like when I because I spent a lot of years like living in Colombia, and then I came to the US. I was actually in Colombia up until like my mid like high school years, and then came to finish like high school in the US and do college and everything here. But I, grew up with like, it was interesting, like in the culture with like my uncles and some of my family and stuff. They were very big about people, and of course, in the story with my dad, this is also like evident as well. But like, it just became it's very like common practice for people to be like unfaithful, and like in some ways also like trying to they are very very big on like like gender stereotypes about what a man should be and a woman should be, and like there's all this like machismo culture and all this stuff, and I kind of grew up with a lot of that stuff like ingrained in me. And then later I was like, I don't and I made a lot of like stupid mistakes and stuff in my life like growing up because of shit that I was like programmed with, almost like, oh, you should be like sleeping around and all this stuff, like this is like the stuff that I would hear growing up. And then I was like, why am I doing this, and it's almost like we were talking about like therapy and stuff before, it's like almost like then realizing like this is not really what I think or feel. It's just what's been kind of like put in my head, so a big thing that I've been kind of on a journey on as well is really like challenging a lot of these like societal like stereotypes and things that like from a patriarchal society have been like ingrained in people about what it means to be like a man, and how we need to be like show ourselves up in the world. And I've done a lot, listened to like a lot of like podcasts and things as well, and like some of these topics. But I've gone very and that's one of the things too, like for me, like I've never been like so I'm a very like not typical guy. Let me just like take a step back and mention that, right? So I love like I love to dance. I love like theater and art. I don't watch football. I don't like. I mean, I'll watch the World Cup. Like every 4 years. That's like the extent of my and maybe the Olympics. That's like the extent of my sports. But I'm not really like into that kind of stuff. I like watching movies that make me cry, that make me feel stuff.
Do
Like
you like? Do you have any sport that's like your sport, or like no?
I like playing sports, right? So I enjoy playing basketball. Like
But
I
wait, when it comes, sorry to cut you off, but when it comes to like watching, no,
No, not really. I mean, I could care less. I mean, I
bro.
used to
Real
I used
quick,
to
like
watch.
I just
Yeah,
some things I got to comment on here, bro.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I'm with you in that, bro. I'm a brother in arms on that,
yeah.
and bro, it's like funny, whatever, it's like a world problem kind of thing. Other people have worse problems, but bro, it's a serious thing. Like if you're out there and you're a guy that does not like sports, bro, I'm 100% with you. I don't really like sports either. If I
Mhm,
had a quote unquote sport, I guess it would be MMA. That kind of
mhm.
gets me in sometimes. But
Yeah,
bro, I'm like you. I'm a guy who likes theater and movies and creativity, bro. it's
yeah,
it's it's a it's a thing in the world of men. Like I think you could relate to this, that it's a genuine like struggle or burden
yeah,
or
yeah,
like weight that you carry, that like you go into like most circles of men, and there's almost always a point where the conversation is going to turn to sports, and you're just sitting there with like nothing to say,
I
and it's
got
like,
nothing. Yeah,
right. And it sounds like, oh,
yeah,
okay, so what? So you just don't say anything for that part. But, bro, there's just some circles of guys that, you're not going to end up being able to be a part of, because it's kind of sports centric. And
yeah,
it
yeah.
sounds like, to some people, oh, okay, that can't be everybody. Of course, it's not everybody. You find your circles in life, but
Mhm.
it greatly kind of reduces your options, because believe it or not, there are like a lot of circles of guys that are kind of very sports centric. And even if you try to just get around it and blah blah blah, like whatever, it can be difficult. So, bro,
Yeah,
I just have to comment on that. Like,
yeah.
it's
No,
I
no.
I
Yeah,
love hearing you say that, and I love, I always feel happier when you hear the story of another person who kind of can relate, bro. So thank you.
totally. Yeah, totally. And it was interesting because like especially when I started working like in corporate America too, and then I was going and like meeting up with other people's. It felt so I felt so like awkward and weird, because it's like, yeah, like a lot of time the conversation would gravitate to that. So then what I ended up doing was just talking with like female colleagues. I'm like, well, I have more I can relate to you guys about. and just did that even like in high school and stuff like that. Sometimes I would just I actually had a lot of like women friends, and I enjoyed that, because we could talk about other things that that maybe weren't like just the typical thing that you would talk with guys, and it just and I just found it interesting. I'm like, yeah, like why has it always had to revolve around that? Like why are they sometimes so like two dimensional? Like when we can like so many different things, and have so many different passions and stuff like that. So that's one thing that, yeah, like I've been also on this kind of like doing a lot of like research and reading on this more, and trying to really, and even like with my kids, like I want like even my like son, right, to have more exposure to like other stuff and to see, like I'm very like intentional also about him seeing like women leaders, right, and like the shows, the cartoons and the stuff that he watches, and stuff like that. And it's not just like always the guy saving the girl, like this stereotypical kind of thing. It just like it bothers me. I'm like, why have we made it that way? Like there's just so much more. So but yeah, so that's another kind of another
Yeah, and
area.
one thing I will say personally, my
Hmm.
perspective on the matter, I do think men and women are different. So
Hmm.
I don't personally love, and if you feel this way, I respect it,
Hmm.
but I
Hmm.
don't personally love, the perspective that men and women are 100% equal, because
Hmm.
equal to me means equal. Like four
Hmm.
equals four, and like I don't think anyone's equal, bro. Like no one's born the
True.
same height, the same
True.
weight. Like everyone. I think everyone's individual. How can you be an individual and
Yeah.
be equal, right? So I just think that's like a weird phrasing thing. I think the value of life of everyone is like equal, right? So don't take it the wrong way, but I think there are differences between men and women, but again, back to the value of life is equal thing. Like I agree with you 100%, bro. I'm against like a lot of the gender norms and stereotypes, but I'm not 100% either. Where it's like I think there's no differences between men and women. I feel like it's a little bit of an oversight, but hopefully you could kind of see that perspective as well.
No, I can respect that. Yeah, but and by the way, another thing that I'm also very keen on is, and I feel like we struggle with this in our country, right? Is that we can also have different opinions, right, and perspectives, and agree to disagree on some things. So just another area that I find like sometimes people are just like, well, if you don't see it my way, then screw you, kind of thing, as well. So no, I can
Bro,
respect that, right?
a
Yes.
hundred
So,
percent. And on
yeah.
that, my filter for that sort of shit, like
Hmm.
if you have like positive intentions toward, like that's kind
Hmm.
of it. Like
Yeah.
there's some other things that value, but the majority filter is, even if you're this or that or whatever, are you positively intentioned towards me? Are you my friend?
Hmm.
Are you here to
Yeah.
help me and build and grow? Because bro, so many people are just either indifferent or kind of like against you or something. So
Hmm.
even if you're not perfect or we don't have 100%, bro, 100%, I agree with you. You don't need to agree on everything. Just kind of the large central things of being positive and helping people where you can. So yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead. But
exactly. Good
bro, I'm so
intentions.
with you.
No,
I'm
yeah,
so happy to
exactly.
hear you
No,
say this stuff.
no, that's it. Exactly. Like so, and I can see your point of view as well, right? Like on the men and women. I mean, obviously, I think there are obviously some differences there, right? But there are also other areas where we can be the same, right? And I do like your point as well. Like I think more so than like I think my big issue is more around like people just getting put into boxes, right? Like that, you know like men have to be a certain way, right? And you have to like have these particular characteristics and fit into this kind of stereotype or mold. Or if you're a woman, you have to like no, like I feel like we're all like human beings that possess infinite number of different like characteristics and interests. We have our own life experiences. We're all beautiful and rich in our own unique way. And we should be allowed to if you're a guy, to be maybe extra sensitive and caring, nurturing, like that those things shouldn't be like exclusive, for example, to someone that's a woman, right, or something like that, right? So it's all part of just being a human being. And yeah, I mean, I think we all have our own unique blend of different characteristics and experiences and stuff like that, and that's beautiful, right? I think that's what I love about it too, that we are actually all different. We're all like our own work of art. And yeah, and I don't I think we should try not to like actually make people fit into a mold or have to like conform to certain societal standards and things like that of what it means to be your quote unquote sex, for example, right? That's my points on that one.
Dude, I love so much of what you're saying, and honestly, I could probably go on like an hour monologue
Yeah.
about this by
Yeah.
myself. Like, there's certain
Yes.
topics that I really gravitate towards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hate labels. Like, I've always hated even filling out those things in
Mm-hmm.
school or whatever, like, and jobs, and like, where what's your gender, what's your race, like all this
Mm-hmm.
shit. Like, I don't even think of life that way. And obviously, like, when you get those things, you got to fill something out, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I hate that shit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm Kowski. Like, am I
Yeah.
gay, am I straight, am I black, am I white? Like, I'm Kowski. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, the rest of it, I just don't think that way. And like, yeah, I have like culture and like family and like all that shit, but that comes into play when I'm with my family. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm with other people, I don't know. I don't personally identify with that, as like a public identity.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know. I just feel like it creates more confusion. Like, part of it for me is like just generalizing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is a man? And then this is a whole other topic. But then there's the transgender thing of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want to be called a man. Like, I have a right to, these pronouns. And bro, personally, I respect everybody. Like, like, I want everybody to be happy. And if you ask me to do something and it's not difficult, like, it's words, I'll do it. Right. But
Mm-hmm.
on this whole other level, my perspective on that is like, why do you even want to be a man? Like, what even is that? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I respect you and how you feel, and you deserve to be part of society.
Mm-hmm.
But my personal thing is, I don't even know if I want to be a man. I just want to be Kowski. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like, call me he, I guess, right? But that's what I
Yeah.
pick. But I'm fucking Kowski. So,
Yeah.
bro, I
Just
I, I
Kowski.
love it. I hate labels. I'm not. I could go on a rant. I don't want to,
Yeah.
rant,
No,
but
I feel you, but
I
I feel you,
hate. I
man.
hate
Yeah.
labels.
I feel you for sure. That's definitely something too that on my side. Yeah, I could also care less for the labels as well.
And dude, this is like a random stray
Hmm.
philosophical thought. I have these like things I think about, but I think there's like something funny about a name, right? Because you know, take like a rhinoceros, like,
Hmm.
versus like a unicorn, right? Like, just because we have names for these things, like a rhinoceros doesn't seem so magical. But like, what if it was a horse and it had a horn? It would be like fascinating. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
sometimes naming something like and knowing what it is. Oh, okay, that's just a rhino. It almost takes some of the magic away from it,
Yeah.
dude. And like, just kind of going back to your point about what you said earlier about your young children. I think you said 6 and 4, and
Hmm.
they're just probably learning the names of things and all that shit. But bro, like, that's what I love about life, bro. That passion, that wonder, that like not knowing what a rhino is called, or that, okay, that's just a rhino. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
we know that is. Like, what would it be like if you were the person who saw a rhino for the first time and didn't know that it was a rhino? Like, it would
Yeah.
kind of be magical. Maybe it would be like a unicorn kind of experience. So,
Yeah.
bro,
Yeah.
again, I 100%, like, it's whatever. I'm veering off, but bro, fuck labels. Sometimes they destroy the magic.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you, man. I feel you. And I was kind of looking at my list because I know you want to, talking about passions and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, maybe try to hit on something else as well. So one other thing I'm also like really passionate about as well is, obviously like just this whole Web3 space, right? And and I don't know if your podcast, touches on this or not. I know you mentioned like the NFT thing at the beginning, but I am also, really, passionate about art. And one of the things that happened when I was younger, actually when I was growing up and as a kid, I used to like create art all the time. Like I would draw all the time. I'd make up like all these characters. I loved watching, cartoon and animations and all this stuff. And for a while, like I actually thought that that's what I was gonna do for like a living. I was either gonna be like an artist or an architect, like one of those two things. And then I was pretty much like told by many people like, no, like, you can't make a living with art, you're going to starve, like, you don't do that. And you're just not going to make it, kind of thing, right? And I was also good at like math and science. I did really well in school and stuff,
Real quick,
so
without taking away from your story,
yep.
what is
No,
it
go
that
ahead.
you do for a living?
Yes, I didn't even talk about that. So many things to hit on. So I actually, I work in technology. So right now I work for Johnson and Johnson, and I help. I used to do like some coding and development stuff. Then I got to the point where like I was managing people that do development, And so now I help oversee like projects where we do stuff for supply chain. So it's basically like systems, we implement like kind of like system solutions or applications and stuff like that to help run our supply chain more efficiently. And interestingly enough, like partly through work, I actually kind of discovered like blockchain and stuff like that, because when blockchain started a while back, like, so this was like 2014, 15, like blockchain started getting some hype in industry a little bit, like, started getting kind of known. And so I've always been like kind of interested in like learning new stuff and exploring. And so I became like the person that did like research on blockchain, and was kind of like one of the our like subject matter experts on it, and like what is blockchain. So I was actually like teaching people and executives like, okay, here's what blockchain is, and I created like all these like presentations and stuff like to try to make it like, simple, like to where a kid could understand it. And then we did all these like proofs of concept, and like we tested things out, and we did some pilots. And basically the conclusion we came to at that point in time was, this seems like it could have some promise in the future, but we're just not there yet, because trying to get a bunch of companies and organizations and things like that to align on like using the same technology and coming up with shared governance and standards is not going to happen. Like we already have a hard enough time like within our own company figuring out how to do stuff. So but yeah, that's how I kind of ended up like getting into blockchain. But so right now, yeah, I kind of work on the technology side. I manage teams of like developers and groups like that to do like projects and work in tech, and which I enjoy as well. I mean, I do kind of like the stuff I'm doing, but I've just kind of gotten this big kind of passion for like this new like Web3 space, right? And like NFTs and all that stuff. And then kind of segueing back to the old story, right? When I grew up, I loved art, was told not to do it. I pursued a career like in engineering and technology, and that's kind of like what I did in college, and then did pretty much after college for all my life. And then now, and I did a little bit of art and stuff like along the way, but never really like fully pursued it. And then now that I kind of stumbled, like I did all this learning about blockchain and technology, then I found out about like NFTs, and actually it was because of like Gary V, a year ago, whatever, with like V Friends. And then I was like, I hadn't seen this application of blockchain, but that's kind of cool. Like, you can have these like collectibles and this art on the blockchain, and then use that medium and that technology to like sell it, right? And showcase it, and you can prove like that you're actually buying it from the artist. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And then I saw like people that were actually like selling art and making a living on it. And so then it like sparked something in me. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So I'm like, hold up. So I can bring like my old passion for like art together with all this stuff I've learned about technology, all into like this new space, and so it was just like this light bulb went off, and I'm like, man, this is cool stuff. So so yeah, and then like I got into like kind of like NFTs, started collecting, learned about some company like with like V Friends with Gary V and a few of other groups, and obviously like community on here has been a huge thing. I just realized like how cool it is to connect with like other like-minded people also like promoting some of the same things that I'm passionate about, like kindness and positivity. And people here are like super encouraging as well. And so for a while, like I also started following some artists, and I was starting to do like I started doing some like drawing, and like digital stuff, because I always done like stuff. I took a lot of classes like in high school and middle school on drawing as well. I learned how to do like technical drawing, and different kind of like oil painting, watercolors, like all this stuff. So I knew a lot of like technique from way back, but like on paper, like physical. Never did anything digital before. Like I didn't even have a computer at the time when I did a lot of this stuff. So then I started learning like this year, like how to use like Procreate and do stuff on the computer. But I was still feeling like very like self-conscious about my art, and like I'm like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like brave enough to like share. I just felt like, oh man, I don't know, people are just gonna think this is crap or something. And then I started following some people that were like, just started like sharing stuff and showing even their stuff like work in progress. And I was like, okay. And I felt like so much encouragement from people in the community that I'm like, I'm gonna start sharing my stuff too. So I did like little snippets, little things here and there, and then got like positive feedback from people, even people that made like what I considered amazing art. And then I was like, okay, and then I felt a little bit like more encouraged. And I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing stuff, and I'm gonna keep learning and improving. And so I've been like, I haven't been spending as much time as I like to doing it, but I've been, slowly like building up my skills, sharing a little bit more about what I'm creating. And then I started just connecting with a lot more people, like artists, like one of one artists and other people in this space. And I feel like that's going to be like a huge thing within this whole Web3 realm, and so just started making a lot of really cool connections with artists. And I thought that one of the really neat things about this is that you can it's not just like some rando collector like selling something, but like you can actually like engage with the people that are creating the art. So I've had opportunities like to chat with them and like DM and talk, and like, what inspired you to make this? What were you feeling when you made this? Like, and that's just such a cool thing that I didn't even think about before. And so it's been like quite a cool journey that I've had, like just trying to, going from coming into the space because of technology, and then kind of feeling pretty excited about it because of the community, and then this rediscovering like my passion for art and creating art, and then feeling encouraged enough to share it, and now like connecting with artists and learning more about them. And so more recently, like just a couple weeks ago, I decided like I'm going to start a space to just showcase and spotlight artists, people that are doing mostly like one-of-one stuff. So now I've been doing it. I've done a couple episodes. Going to do another one this Friday. Where just to get to, and especially like my whole thing is I want to make it like very inclusive. So whether the artist has like 50 followers or 5,000 or whatever, I don't care, right? I just want to like be able to like get a chance to sit down with somebody, get to know them better, understand what inspires them, go a little bit deeper, right? And hopefully help like some of their collectors, maybe know them on a more personal level, and get them exposure to other collectors and
Carl, real quick,
people.
we have
Yeah. Oh yeah, we're almost out of time, so I know you
yeah,
gotta
we have
you
a
gotta
minute
bounce. Yeah.
here. If
Yeah.
I didn't have another space, bro, I would let
No,
this
no, yeah, yeah,
go.
totally. And I told you, yeah,
Run.
I'm like, yeah, just keep it to an hour. It's okay. So,
Yeah, dude, I think we got to get you back on. I don't know if you know this or not. I'm also an artist. I would love to even, go into my whole thing and tell you because you seem
yes, yeah.
interested in that type of thing, what my process is and all that. But, we got like a minute left here. So, bro, I love everything you said. I'm incredibly happy to have you as a guest. Like I said, I want to have you as a guest, again, when we
Sure.
could set
Yeah.
it up, hopefully soon. I know it's the holidays, that type of shit, but hopefully soon we can get you on again.
Mm-hmm.
My kind of impression here, bro, again, you went through a lot of struggles. I'm so sorry for everything you went through. I wish we could even had time to go into that more. And we will as we kind of grow and develop and deepen the relationship here. I hope what people take away from this is, this person, JanCarlo here, who, went through all of this, went from that and then went on to, still be a successful, positive person that wants to be a role model for others. JanCarlo, any, kind of last words, mic drop, or anything before we kind of
Yeah, no, man,
out?
I think you hit on it, man. And I love that, right? I think that's a good takeaway, is that, no matter like, how tough your circumstances might be, and I, like I said, I didn't even go through like a lot of the other stuff that I went through, but your circumstances can be so rough, and you can have a really tough beginning, but there's always opportunity, and I'm a very, you know, a very big optimist at heart, right? And I think that, you have the ability, to turn things around, and if you stay, positive, you work through some of those challenges and things like that. Some of there's some work you got to do in your heart as well, right? But I think if you stick through it, you work through it, you stay positive, you can persevere, right? And on the other end, make a beautiful, positive impact in this world, right? And so that's my thing, man. I had a tough beginning. It's been a rough journey, but I remain, optimistic, perseverant, and I think, spreading kindness, positivity, encouragement, support for other people, can go a long way. And like you said, that, though maybe it's cliche or whatever, but I believe it too, man. You could be the change you want to see in the world. So I love that too. As a matter of fact, I think I actually used that in a presentation at work recently, which is funny. But yeah, no, that's my I think my last takeaway for sure. Yeah, and I would
Perfect.
love to be back. Yeah, definitely. I'd
Perfect.
love
We will
to come back.
definitely have you back. Be the change you want to see in the world. We're gonna have another space, so if you're listening live or whatever, there's another one coming up right now. But again, JanCarlo, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon. And a message from my friend Afakasi. If you don't know him, type his name in on Twitter. It should come up. I think it's at Afakasi Brand. But if you haven't heard it today, you are loved. Peace out, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for having me, Kelsey. Good
Pleasure.
night.